You're listening to the Limitless Leadership Podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
All right, leaders, whether you're running a shop, leading a team, or leveling up in your career, you know details matter. And if you're like me, that includes keeping your beard on point. That's why I trust the Bearded Brotherhood. Their beard oils, beard balms, and mustache waxes, among other, are made with all natural ingredients, no junk, no shortcuts, just top-tier quality that keeps my beard looking sharp and feeling great. And let's talk scents. Whether it's their best-selling Woodsman or my personal favorite, Lone Stranger, the Bearded Brotherhood keeps me smelling fresh and my beard stays soft all day. If you take your beard game seriously, this is the stuff that you need. And because you're part of the Limitless Leadership podcast family, I've got a deal for you. Just visit thebeardedbrotherhood.co/lead15 to grab your favorite products and get 15% off in the process, because a great leader deserves a great beard. Now, back to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Limitless Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Parnell. And before we get started with today's episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you need to on social media to help us reach people and build leaders. That, of course, is our mission. Go to YouTube at The Bearded Leader to subscribe, and then, of course, like and even share. And speaking of leaders, I'm joined again by a great leader, a friend of mine, Bryce Evans, who is the founder and editor of Auto Service Leader. So a fellow leader in the industry, really doing an amazing job at driving change and reaching people and building leaders in his own right. Bryce, thanks for being here, man.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's fun to get on here and talk about these type of topics. I'm also a bearded leader, not quite the beard that you have, but I try.
That's right. Hey, the A for effort, and I do see the amazing beard that you have. And you're right. You're this is a little different for you because normally you're on my side of the microphone interviewing others in the industry. So it's a nice little change of pace for both of us today. But let's go ahead and pass the mic back to you, Bryce. Go ahead and share with the audience who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Definitely. Yeah. So as you mentioned, usually I'm on the other side of the microphone and the interview questions. I am a journalist by trade. I've worked in this industry for close to 15 years now. I helped launch a different publication in 2012 that we helped grow into one of the largest in the industry. I was the editor there for about 10 years, worked in different capacities, helped with different brands, did different events, emceed events, did different things in this industry. And eventually I saw a unique need that was out there for our audience, for your audience as well, in terms of the type of information that was needed. And I saw some different changes going on, some things that were happening both at the publication I was at, but the industry as a whole, that things started to feel as if the industry itself was starting to get consolidated more and more, that there are more conglomerates coming in, more private equity coming in, different people coming into this industry to build on what a lot of the great independent businesses have started, what the small town businesses, the Main Street businesses that are truly the lifeblood of our economy and really, in my opinion, the source and foundation of what the American dream is and what you're trying to build, and trying to find ways to help those businesses succeed in an increasingly complicated and crowded marketplace for them and competing against people with bigger resources. And one of the things that we always felt over the years in working in this industry is that there are so many great opportunities for coaching and for training in a super high level dynamic type of resource to help you build your business. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there's some great free information, including a publication I worked for before that still exists. It's a great publication people should still read, and great free information out there that, it's limited in what it's able to do for people in the audience that it serves and truly the customer that it serves at the end of the day based on its business model. And there are these limitations in where people can find information and gain access to what they need in order to grow and succeed. Well, we've tried to do with Auto Service Leader over the last year and a half since we launched is build something that can truly be an on-demand resource for people in this industry when they have questions, when they're facing an obstacle in their business, when they don't know what to do in this situation with a team member, when they need to find how to recruit technicians, when they need to understand their profit and loss statement better, when they have a question just on the basic dynamics of their profit and loss, if they need a template for an SOP or a process within the shop. We want to be that on-demand resource for them to be able to access it and find it. So what we're really trying to do in the industry as a whole is fill this gap of information that we believe exists between your standard kind of free options that are out there, and then all the way up to the dynamics of coaching. There's this giant gap, and there are all these people that need this information to succeed. One of our foundational beliefs is that the difference between the people that succeed and the people that are struggling is not necessarily anything to do with external factors, the consolidation I talked about, the technician shortage everybody's facing, the higher cost of doing business. It's not that there aren't solutions to those, because there are a lot of people out there that have already found them. But the vast majority of shops and business owners, particularly small business owners in trade industries, don't have access to the solutions that they need. And what we're trying to do, and what we're very passionate about, is tearing down kind of that barrier to finding those solutions. So we've built Auto Service Leader into a digital hub in a print magazine that we feel can serve as that source to people. We want it to be this ultimate on-demand resource for folks who are looking for these solutions. So we have a print publication that comes out every single month. It's 80 plus pages, 84 pages-ish. No traditional print ads within it in the way that you see in other publications. Everything is content-based, and every single page we feel adds value to the audience. And then we also have our digital hub, which right now has over 1,300 videos on it, all short snippets that give you clear takeaways, give you the answers to your business, and also has downloadable resources, SOPs, templates, guides, different things that people can take from the hub and put right into their business right then to hopefully find those solutions. So while small business owners can feel like they're on an island, can feel like they're lost to find these solutions on their own, we feel that we're building out something for them to gain access to hundreds of shops across country who have already found these answers and share those answers with them.
Love that. Bryce, well, first, thanks for sharing that. Here's a question for you, because as a leadership coach in the industry, I do online leadership training as well. And my program is called the Limitless Leadership Blueprint. And so it's an online leadership program for folks in the industry. But here's the caveat. Only 4%, like studies show that only 4% of people who purchase an online course actually go through the entirety of the online course. So while we know the resources are available, a lot of us are not resourceful with those resources. What are the steps that you guys have been able to take in order to encourage individuals who are a part of Auto Service Leader, who are subscribing to Auto Service Leader, to not just be a part of the community, which is great, not just purchase the membership, which is great, but also really implement that information, because ultimately knowledge without application is just information. So what are you doing to hold these folks accountable and help them hold themselves accountable as well?
Definitely. That's an awesome question. That's something that we talk about internally all the time. And one of the big things that we've found is it's not super difficult to get people to want what we're doing and to sign up for what we're doing, but to get them to understand how to use it effectively. And as you mentioned, implement it then is the big next step. So one of our key things is just simply through the onboarding process of new members when they sign up is making sure we give instructions on how to use it, and that we talk about it in a way that makes sense, so we can make the site intuitive. The digital hub itself is highly searchable. There's a search bar at the top. I can search down to a second in a video when something was mentioned. And we try to make it as easy as possible for people to find that information. The other thing is trying to keep it in this kind of modern approach to how people scroll through social media, how they look through feeds, how reels are so big now because they're short, they're quick, they have a quick impact. You can move on to the next one. We try to build our content out that same way too. We try to make it to where you can go to one video and it's a minute to 3 minutes, and it keeps you engaged the entire time because it's giving those takeaways right off the bat. And if something's 3-4 steps, it's usually put into then 3 or 4 videos so that you can watch it at your pace and be able to get through them all. So a lot of it is the educating on how to be educated through the platform. We have ways of kind of understanding engagement, how much people are watching, how far in videos they're getting, different things like that, all analytics that we look at internally to help improve our content. But it can also help us then to reach out and remind people or market to them, and to try to get them to engage a little bit more. Some of the downloads that we do too, one of the things that we try to do with those is make them as easily usable as possible. So if there's a template or a guide that we have for a certain process in a shop, or an SOP that can be put into your business, we try to make it to where it's generic enough to where they can take it, download it, they can either slap their logo on it or leave no logo on it and use it once they print it out. So we're trying to erase all these barriers of entry, both from the time perspective, because we know how busy shop owners are and how busy their teams are, and from the usability of the things we are giving them, because we don't want to just give ideas. Ideas are crucial and they're going to make a giant impact, but there needs to be action. As you said, we need to implement these ideas. We need to do something with them each time. And so we try to balance having the ideas, the concepts, explaining it, and having something very tangible that they can take from that and use right then.
You talked about erasing the barriers. You talked about closing the gaps. What kind of challenges have you experienced in the last year and a half? You guys launched a year and a half ago. I'd imagine there was some kind of challenges with the transition into Auto Service Leader, but also the last year and a half, what kind of growth have you seen in addition to the challenges that you experienced?
Definitely. Yes. I mean, the biggest challenge was just that it was something that was very new. So we kind of, anytime we were explaining to people, especially early on, but it still happens today, is you're almost explaining it twice to them. One is explaining what it is, what it does, how it exists. The second part is why we feel people need it. And we're lucky and fortunate that, we came from a background in the industry before this. A lot of connections, knew a lot of different people. I think through the years, our team in particular has been able to build up a lot of trust with folks that we're reaching out to. So I do think there's a level of interest based on us being the ones that are doing it, knowing where we came from, knowing what we've done, and that being a nice opener to the conversation. But for those people that, were kind of cold hearing this for the first time and not truly understanding it, it's definitely trying to get people to grasp why we are doing what we're doing in the way that we're doing it. So one thing, I don't think I've mentioned this yet in explaining it, is it is subscription based. So people do have to sign up and pay to access Auto Service Leader. And there's a big reason for doing that. It's not to milk dollars out of this large industry of great business owners. The actual reason is to ensure that our audience remains our customer. That's one of the biggest issues today with traditional trade publications and B2B media, is that your customer is always going to be your advertiser. It's a closed circulation, free model, and everything you do is dependent on those ads. And if you don't have that support, you can't create the things that your audience actually needs. And so instead, we're taking the approach to where we can focus on our audience as being our core customer. So if someone says, we need this type of guide in our business, or we need these type of pieces, we need this type of content, we're not looking to see how that aligns with our ads coming in, how this aligns with what our projections are and what the return on that will be. We know that person is paying for this and wants this. That's our customer, and we're going to create it for them and find the solution that they need. And taking that approach is unique for this industry. It's unique for B2B publishing. But the way that we tend to look at it is that the way that traditional B2B publishing has been over time, it kind of diminishes the passion and care and attention that a lot of these people put into their businesses. We like to think of Auto Service Leader much more in line with an enthusiast publication, your higher end journals, things like that, that people are obsessive with this hobby or with this topic. And so they're going to buy up and read everything they can about it because they love it. And we know that that's how these people feel about their businesses. No different than you do it in your coaching company, or I do in building this. Like, this is what we're thinking about all the time. Yeah. And if I can get something that gives me extra information and motivation, some strategies that I can use, I'm going to try to snatch it up. And we want to approach Auto Service Leader like that. We want people to be so obsessive with their business that they can't get enough of the content we're creating. They're asking for more. And because they are our true customer, then we can create it for them and build it. And we can build something that we feel like is more in line with the passion and love that they have for their business, with something in a product that we make and that we produce every month and that we put online digitally with as much attention to detail as they would expect from their own teams in their own lives and in what they are trying to gain in their own business.
I appreciate the fact that you're talking about the voice of the customer and how important the voice of the customer is, especially with the type of publication that you guys have. How often are you able to retrieve the feedback and really listen to the voice of the customer? Like, is this a daily thing? Is this a monthly thing? Like, is there what does that process look like for you guys on your end of the program, if you will?
Definitely. Yeah, I would say that on a kind of a one-to-one basis of getting feedback, it's a daily thing.
Okay.
We're doing interviews every day. Was on one just before hopping on with you. We'll have one later this afternoon. And we're emailing with folks. We're reaching out to them for the print stories, for video interviews. We're getting feedback from our members. We have a chat feature on our site if anybody's been to it. That's an actual person who mans that. Kate mans that.
That's important to say these days, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's always funny because it pops up with her picture. Then she messages them back and people always think it's like a robot messaging back. And she's like, no, this is really me. But it's that type of, I guess, attention to each aspect of it. And that a lot of what we do in reporting on the industry and getting people's stories and talking to them allows us to get all that feedback. Even if we're not directly asking for it, we get it very indirectly with people commenting on it. We try to be very quick with our responses to people. I list my cell phone number in every email I send out. So does the rest of our team. People have direct links to us. I get texts from people every day that they saw this, they liked this, they didn't like that. We're trying to do a better job on social media of engaging people as well. And for us to be able to create the publication that we do and then have the video content that we do as well, we have to be as engaged as possible with our audience. We can't be like sideline observers and sit back and hope content comes to us. We have to really engage. And one other thing that we're trying to do as much as we can as a small company with limited time constraints and things like that, but is to get out to as many events as we can, meet people in person, talk to people about the issues that they're facing and better understand what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and how what we do can serve them better. And we've already adjusted a lot of the different things we do, whether it's digitally or even in print, based on a lot of that feedback. I mentioned that we've been around for a year and a half where we've had 16 issues published. We're about to send the 17th off to the printer. And we launched digitally slightly before that with kind of a soft launch. So we've had 18 months really of awesome feedback that have helped us kind of fine tune what we're doing. And we have a lot more improvements coming along the way that hopefully will make it an even better resource for people and make it that much easier. I mentioned earlier the length of our videos, the type of SOPs and templates that we put online, different things like that are based on feedback. Initially, we had some longer form interviews. We had people breaking down the 10 steps to do this process, and it's a 15-minute video and things like that. And we would get feedback from people that they don't have time. They don't have time to watch a 15-minute video. And we kind of look at it and think of it very similar to watching shows on Netflix. My wife and I always joke that like there's a movie we want to watch. We're like, we're not going to stay up for 2.5 hours to watch a movie. But let's just watch this episode of a show. And then you end up watching 3 hours of a show. Yep. So we've done the same thing essentially with our video content too. Instead of having that 15-minute video breaking down the 10 steps, we do 10 videos that add up to 15 minutes. We find that people watch all 10 of those videos at a far higher rate than they do sit through that 15-minute video. And then a lot of times when they do the 10 individual videos, they go on to more. And so it's little feedback like that we're trying to implement every day into what we do to enhance this, because none of the content we create, none of the stories that we tell, nothing that we write, nothing that we record matters unless somebody is going to engage with it and then get some sort of takeaway, make some sort of change in their business or in their life based on it.
Bryce, I really respect the level of modesty and humility in what you're sharing. And here's why I'm saying this, because you guys are doing great with social media engagement, but you specifically, man, I see the 1 minute leader videos that you're putting out on a daily basis. And I see the content that you personally are putting out, and it's great. It's great content. It's all backed by data and research and tried and true practices that work. And so if you can spare a minute in I know a lot of us don't have time, but hopefully we can spare 60 seconds. Check out Bryce's videos. They're solid, and that's free content. I mean, of course, I'm going to say, go with the membership as well. But the stuff I see you doing, man, is really strong. You talked about improvements that are coming. So you've given us snippets of the last year and a half and the evolvement and the growth that you guys have experienced and the feedback that has come along with it. Talk about the improvements. What's coming? Like, what if I'm a member of Auto Service Leader, what can I expect in the next year that I haven't been accustomed to previously?
Definitely. So there are a handful. I'll go through kind of some of the highlights that are based on the audience kind of feedback and member feedback that we've gotten that people have really been asking for. One is reshifting the way that we have the hub configured right now. We laid it out in kind of what we thought, how people would engage with it, where they would find information, broken up into different categories of improvement, things like that. And we have it behind the scenes and hopefully ready to switch over pretty soon here of an entirely new format that makes it a little simpler. You can get to content quicker. You can search things better. It gives things are more clearly labeled. If you're trying to share things with your team, if you want, your front counter to watch this series on service advisor tips and strategies, we're going to make that easier to package things and find that. Another thing that we have that will be coming very soon as well is curated content on the hub. There'll be essentially like a my content type of space on there for a member that signs in, and based on the demographic information they give us when they sign up as a member and based on their user history and their engagement with videos, it'll automatically populate things that they're most interested in and things that should help them the most with the state that their business is in. So for instance, if someone has 3 or 4 shops and their goals are to increase that and keep growing, they're going to get a lot of multi-shop and growth type strategies and videos, or how to manage larger teams, those type of topics. If they're a one location shop in a rural area, they'll hear from other people that have similar markets and similar tactics and similar strategies. So that's another of it. Another two, we've been testing out and doing some different virtual event options that both combine live aspects as well as on-demand content. We'll be announcing a few of those coming up. We're building out more packaged content in terms of guides. Right now we have our Ultimate Guide to Leadership is something that's available online. If anybody wants access to that, I don't know your best strategy of doing that, Josh, but they can send me an email. I'll get them the link. That's a free thing that we're offering to people right now to kind of test out our content, but it's a multimedia package that has a whole bunch of different things in there. I think there's 60 some videos, there's some templates, there's some book reports, synopsis of some leadership books, different things that you can do to become a better leader, all kind of laid out in different steps for you. We have challenges that we do as well. We've done our Be a Leader challenge. It's a 30-day challenge to become a more purposeful and mindful leader in your daily life. Quick, as it kind of similar to what you mentioned about the 1 minute leader. The idea is to give very quick ideas and tactics for people to grow as a leader every single day. Because as you mentioned, I think everybody can spare 60 seconds or so, or a few minutes every day for self-improvement. And I know people, if they're listening to your podcast, I'm sure are definitely in that mode of thinking. And then the last thing that I can only kind of hint at right now, but we have had a lot of people clamoring for us to do a live event in person. It's something that I've been involved in the past. We go to a lot of events, but from the day we launched, we had people walking up to us at events or calling us on the phone asking when our event was going to be. So we can excitedly say that in the next couple months here, we're going to be announcing that as well.
Excellent. So now we know it's coming. That's great. So and let's go back to what you mentioned, the Ultimate Leader Guide. So here's a way that we can get the Ultimate Leader Guide in the hands of folks in the industry. What is your email address? Excellent. All right. Bryce at autoserviceleader.com. If you're listening, hopefully you're not driving, write that down right now. Send Bryce an email, get the Ultimate Leader Guide. I'm just such a big believer in collaboration and not competition. What you and I do is very similar, but we serve the same industry, and multiple minds are better than one. And I just firmly believe that the more you can get, the more resources are available, the larger your network is, the further you can go. Because quite frankly, Bryce, and I know you know this, we can go fast alone, but we can go further together. And so regardless of what you're doing and what I'm doing and what others are doing, man, we have the opportunity to come together and really take this industry to the top. And I feel like we're moving in the right direction. So the name of your company is Auto Service Leader. This, of course, is a leadership podcast. I'll ask you, Bryce, what does leadership mean to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an awesome question, a big question. And I would say that it has changed over the years of what it means. I think a lot of us, when we are growing up, I played a lot of sports as a kid, on a lot of teams. You look at leaders. I still grew up in an era where you have the trying to think of a nice way to say it, but kind of the screaming coaches. You have the glorified halftime speeches and a lot of yelling, a lot of barking, a lot of like telling people what to do, and this is how we do it. And that was my initial outlook on leadership when I was younger. And I'll be the first to raise my hand and say that, I was lucky enough to be in leadership positions on a lot of teams that I was on initial companies I worked for, different things like that. And early on, I was a fairly immature leader. I had that mindset in my head of that's what a leader needed to be. And if I wasn't being loud, then I wasn't a leader.
Yeah. If you're not being loud, you're not being heard. Like that's what we think, right?
Yes. And I would say that as I grew older and had more opportunities to meet more people, have better mentors, be engaged with people who really were true leaders, and see that probably the most impactful moments they had was more in quiet reaction or a calm reaction to difficult situations and struggle and adversity than it was in the times where they needed to give a rah-rah speech or pump someone up. And over the years, I feel like I've been able to kind of be more myself in my own personality as a leader too, in that, I'm not a super outgoing person. I'm definitely far more introverted. I don't mind getting on stage. I don't mind talking to people. I love talking to people, but it's one of those things that I definitely gain my energy from being alone and recouping. And I'm very exhausted after a lot of talking to a lot of people and being at events. Not that I don't like it, but it drains my energy rather than fills my energy the way it would for an extrovert. And over the years, I was able to see that, I could be that type of leader. I could still, give people motivation if they needed at times, or get on them when they needed, to increase production or fix a problem or whatever it might be, but that I could be more authentic to myself. So I guess this is a very long way of saying that I think leadership to me is providing the example, providing the roadmap, and showing people the path of how to get somewhere, of how to do certain things, and giving people their own belief, their self-belief that they can do that. I think one of the biggest things a leader can do for another person is let them borrow off your experience, let them borrow off your confidence to be able to reach the levels that they want to reach. If any of us are running companies or leading teams or doing those things, you're likely in that position because you have this level of expertise, or because you have this level of authority, or you have this level of respect from other people. And they need to gain from you in that way. And simply being the model of how to react to this, how to handle these type of situations, how to be professional, how to be caring for other people. I think one of the biggest things a leader can have is empathy and understanding where other people are coming from, and being able to meet them on that level and find the best ways for them to get where they need to go. And it's a kind of a mixed answer here. It obviously, leadership is a very passionate topic that I look at very often. I ask people similar questions all the time. And I think a true leader is someone that other people want to follow, not that is asking or telling anyone to follow or what to do.
That's so good, man. If you're telling someone something, you're speaking to them. If you're sharing, you're speaking with them. And what you just shared, I love this answer. This is why I love asking this question, because I always get different answers, and all the answers they're always different, but they're always correct. Like they're always accurate. Regardless of what the answer is, I'm getting a lot of great nuggets from each one of the answers, including yours. And I want to give you a shout out too, Brett, because what you just shared is also a testament to your professional maturity and your confidence in your ability to lead, because the way that you have been able to reflect and recognize, it's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about barking orders. It's not about being heard. There's a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone. And as a leader, we get to model what listening to someone really is, because we can receive information, we can process information, and we can utilize that information to best serve that person. And we get to listen empathetically. So to your point on empathy, empathizing with someone it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to experience the same situation as that person, but it does mean that we can imagine their circumstances and accept their feelings without invalidating them. And when you learn the way you already have, when you learn how to validate someone's feelings, regardless of if you've been through a situation like that or not, you can at least understand and acknowledge what they're sharing with you. That goes such a long way, because 70% of employees, they're disengaged because they don't feel heard. They don't feel valued or acknowledged. And so everything you shared, man, I think is one of the best answers I've gotten on this podcast. I'll ask you, and you may have just given the best advice for anyone listening, but I'll ask you, what's the best advice you've ever received from a coach or a mentor?
Luckily, I would say I've been very fortunate to have gotten a lot of very good advice over the years. I think one of the things that I guess has resonated with me most, and it's something that didn't hit me for a long time, and I've shared this story with a lot of the people that have been on teams that have worked for me, and worked alongside me. And when I was a senior in college, like getting ready to graduate, looking for jobs, and I was talking to a family friend who worked in a similar parallel industry to what I was going into. I was a journalism student. I was looking to go into newspapers. And, he asked me what my career goals were and what my dreams were, what I wanted to do. And in my head, I had this huge dream. It was super ambitious, and I was really hoping to get there. And, maybe I wouldn't, but in my head, I was thinking it was this big, like grand idea. And I tell him this goal that I had, and he just kind of like, he paused and gave me a weird look and was like, and then what? And I was kind of taken back, and basically his message was, that's nowhere near big enough. He's like, let's say this goes well, you might get there in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it happens to be, you might get there. And then what are you going to do? And I remembered, like, not necessarily, like I took the advice in, but it didn't really hit me. And I remember thinking, I'm like, well, if I get there, then I have my dream job and I'll just do that for the rest of my life and it'll be awesome. And so then I kind of went on with my career, and luckily, through some fortunate breaks and different things, I literally sat one desk over from my dream job within 5 years of graduating.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the person doing this job, and he's become kind of cynical. He's kind of an old curmudgeon. He doesn't seem to enjoy the work that he's doing anymore. It's definitely a paycheck, day-to-day grind. And I remembered sitting there at the desk next to him and just essentially being somewhat terrified that was my future, and that's what I've been working so hard for, and that's my dream. And it really hit me just one day, thinking back to that advice that I was given of, that dream, that goal wasn't anywhere near big enough. And that not only does your perception change and your goals change as you progress, but even just the idea of putting that sort of ceiling on a goal was really hampering to me and my own growth, because I was building toward that instead of building toward whatever the possibilities could be beyond that.
Yeah.
And that really opened up a lot of doors to me in looking for different opportunities, trying different things. It's what brought me to this industry in the first place, of launching the other magazine that I had mentioned, and being a part of that team that got the opportunity to do that. And then being in this industry for as long as I have, and then eventually launching my own company, something that at the time I wouldn't have even thought about. And so to kind of bring this home, the advice that I talk to people a lot about is don't set those type of limits on yourself. And when you're building out goals for yourself and for your career and looking down the road, it's good to have targets. It's good to have benchmarks, things that you want to do, but setting limits on yourself is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because it will be eventually a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that will be the limit that you reach if that's the limit that you set for yourself as you're going. So I would say that was the most impactful advice that I've gotten, that I still think about all the time. Even what we're doing with Auto Service Leader, what we're trying to build here, I am not trying to think, this is what it will be, because I don't know what it will be. In 5 years, I could have a totally different outlook of what the possibilities are and where we can go, what we can do for people, how many more people we can reach and impact and have that type of presence and purpose. And it would be a dangerous thing right now, for not just for myself, but for the people on our team, to set those type of limitations and feel like there's a pinnacle we can hit, when that should always be a moving target.
What a perfect ending to the Limitless Leadership podcast. I mean, you couldn't have segued any better. I'll ask you one last question, Bryce. Aside from your email, bryce@autoserviceleader.com, how can our audience get in touch with you and find Auto Service Leader?
Definitely send me an email if you want to ask a question directly or want more information, but go to autoserviceleader.com, all spelled out, one simple URL. You'll find more information there. There are links to sign up. There's also some example content, things you can try out and do. You can find us on Facebook, Auto Service Leader. Also find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever your preferred platform is. And you can find more examples of content there.
Excellent. Thank you, Bryce. And thanks for being on the Limitless Leadership podcast.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And it was a fun conversation.
Of course it was. Yeah, I agree. And every episode, that we look to transform our leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day today. Don't forget to smile. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.